Good evening, and welcome to another reading from the Nocturalis. The following details were extracted from the waterlogged case files of a private detective by the name of Charles Reed, discovered amongst the worm-eaten remnants of the Devil's Reef Hotel of Oakmont, Massachusetts, which you might remember was famously consumed by flooding in the 1920s. Though many pages were damaged beyond recovery, thankfully, not all were lost. Soon after the initial flood, it was reported that many everyday citizens began to suffer strange dreams that beckoned them to the sinking remnants of Oakmont, and Charles writes that he was among those many travelers to the city in search of answers. His skills as a private eye seemingly served him well, opening avenues for discourse otherwise closed to those so-called outsiders, and his experience as a naval diver even allowed him to explore firsthand epoch-old ruins buried beneath the waves. But the flood didn't just bring famine, outsiders, and madness to Oakmont, it also brought with it a new species that the locals dubbed wild beasts. These monstrosities come in a wide variety, but share certain commonalities. They are seemingly mutated amalgamations of flesh, transformed by some previously undiscovered biological pathogen released during the flood. Some are strictly scavengers, but the vast majority are openly hostile and insatiably attracted to blood. They tend to live in mixed packs, crawling out of the loose earth to attack en masse upon detecting movement, and appear territorial in nature, to the point that some buildings and even entire city blocks were cordoned off to protect the public. It is important to note too that some specimens continued to further mutate, leading to a variety of dangerous subspecies. The smallest and most common of wild beasts is the Stygian harvester. Curiously, the name was bestowed upon them by a local professor after it came to him during a vision. These gangly four-legged creatures can be found anywhere there is death, and even trace blood spatter can be enough to draw them out. They move in an erratic manner, but are relatively weak, posing little danger on their own. However, when gathered in larger groups, they can easily overwhelm a target. The weaver subspecies is not openly hostile, but instead weaves strands of biological fibers that can replace damaged tissues, effectively healing nearby members of its pack, while the smoker subspecies can exude clouds of thick black smoke, disorienting its targets and allowing the pack to attack unseen through the smog. It is recommended to defend oneself against these critters with a melee weapon when possible. Their jerky movements can make shooting them difficult, and they are quite frail, making them easy to put down with a well-aimed thunk, and saving you a bullet in the process.
Who in hell would think to use a spade as a weapon?
The first wild beast of humanoid descent, these creatures are teeming with multiple uncategorized pathogens. The head is split vertically, and the body is covered with bulbous growths that aid in the flow of lymphatic fluids. These fluids are gathered in the stomach, where they begin to solidify into a biohazardous mass the beast can expel at its prey with immense force. Note that the hands have fused to either side of the head, likely to further clear the esophagus. Strangely, they don't appear to have eyes, yet have an uncanny ability to strike their target. As the growths on the creature essentially act as multiple hearts, extensively mutated Lethians can become very robust and hard to kill, gaining them the reputation as an immortal subspecies. But this title is misleading.
If it bleeds, you can kill it.
They just need a little extra encouragement. The more dangerous of Lethian subspecies is the Wraith, a nigh-invisible variety that when cloaked is only detectable through minor distortions caused by its movements. Rather than mimicking its surroundings like a chameleon or bending light like the legendary bloodsuckers of Chernobyl, it is more likely these beasts slip between dimensional planes or emit a light outside of our visible spectrum. While the common Lethian is easily dispatched with small arms fire, a shotgun is recommended for both subspecies. Keep in mind, its bulbous growths are the key to its survival, so aim for center mass rather than its empty head. Cosetians primarily use their upper arm strength to launch themselves with great force at their target, latching onto them with their incredibly powerful maw, akin to an airborne bear trap. These peculiarities have lost their legs during the mutation process, likely owing to circulation problems. Similar to the Lethean, their head is split vertically in half. However, each half is lined with rows of vicious needle-like fangs. They have multiple stomach sacs that they can greatly expand at will, leading them to evolve an exposed stomach on their back. The green Cosetian is, well, green, but also leaves behind little pathogen packages as it hops around chasing its prey. This highly volatile excrement explodes on contact, acting as a biological landmine. The spitting Cosetian, on the other hand, is rarer but more difficult to combat. Similar to Letheans, they can spit pathogenic waste, meaning not only do they attack from range, but they're difficult to get behind and attack effectively. As you may have guessed, the exposed stomach sac on the back is the creature's obvious glowing weak point, and a couple close-range shotgun blasts should be enough to destroy them. The largest and most formidable of wild beasts, Acheronians are hulking amalgamations of human corpses that are fused together during the pathogenic mutation process. Acheronians tower over the average human and have even been known to swallow them whole. They slam the ground with their enormous weight to stumble their prey, quickly closing the distance with 6 powerful legs and crushing them with their bulk. As with Cosetians, they too have a glowing weak point located in their gullet, but due to the slouching nature of these creatures, their head tends to hang in the way, making it a difficult target to hit. There are 2 recorded subspecies, the smoker, which is similar to its Stygian brother, and the far more daunting, exploding Acheronian. These have no visibly defining characteristics, making them impossible to pick from the regular species, but due to an instability within the creature, likely caused by pressurized lymphatic fluids, upon expiring, these subspecies' innards reach a critical mass, causing it to violently explode and covering the area with biological shrapnel. If encountered, it's best to keep your distance and attack the creature's gullet with everything you have. Fire is effective, but avoid using Molotovs in confined spaces, or you may end up dealing with a charging mass of flaming flesh. An odd side effect of the otherworldly biological properties of wild beasts sometimes grants them the rare ability to slip between dimensional points in space, essentially teleporting short distances, which is disconcerting when found in Acheronians. But not all creatures are found above the waves, and 2 in particular have been documented in the sunken remnants of the city below. The first are a type of tentacle that erupts from below the seafloor, likely part of some larger undocumented creature. These pseudopods are lined with long, sharp claws and fangs, similar to those documented in the incident that occurred in Bridgeton, Maine, concerning a species of creature that lurked in a thick mist that enveloped the town. The second are known as terrorfish, though these tentacled seafloor dwellers have more in common with an octopus than a fish. At first glance, they may appear to have some sort of exoskeleton or shell. However, this is in fact an enlarged skeletal beak, similar to that of an octopus's, only greatly enlarged and protruding so far from the mouth that it's become inverted. They share many similarities with the legendary devilfish, encountered in 1984 off the coast of Florida, as documented by a group of Italian marine biologists and made famous by an American astronaut.
Every time I meet a guy, he's married, gay, or getting killed by a giant octopus.
There were 2 further accounts found among the case notes that dealt with more powerful foes. One concerning a true-to-life witch that haunts the city, and a cursed seamstress known for sewing the mouths of resident gossips shut.
Punishment. Long story.
Owing to powerful magics, the witch is released back into the world upon the century anniversary of her death, though she can be released earlier through dark rites. Charles documented the completion of such a rite, wherein he called up the hag and destroyed her body, resetting the century-long cycle once more. The second account, however, is far more daunting. Upon discovering the lair of a local cult devoted to Shub-Niggurath, the black goat goddess of fertility, a hideous avatar of the dreaded outer god was summoned in the form of a gaping maw, spewing forth deadly chunks of biohazardous waste. The cultists attacked en masse in defense of their god, as Charles worked to eradicate the evil that had been conjured within the sunken temple. Finally, after unleashing a hail of gunfire, he succeeded in tearing the horrid abomination to shreds. It's unknown whatever happened to Charles Reed. He was last seen descending beneath the waves of Oakmont to explore the recently uncovered ruins of an eldritch underwater temple. He had recently proclaimed himself chosen by destiny, and so it's very likely that he'd simply gone mad, as had many other residents of the city at the time. Or maybe, just maybe, he found his destiny beneath the briny blue. I hope one day we might find out. But until then, thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon.